and I'm going to be the one giving you guys the session. I'll get into the recording in a second. So I'll be the one going through the session for you guys today. A few key things is the session will be recorded. So just note that. We will also be doing the session in English, but if you do have any questions in French or would like any of the information in French, please let us know, and we'll also be able to either answer you in French today or support you with the information in French later on. I think at this point, 3 years into COVID, everyone's comfortable with how Zoom works. So if you guys do have any questions, please feel free to just raise your hands. You can either wave at me or you can just raise your hands in the bottom function. And if you're not sure how to do that, you can always message on the chat and one of my team members will be able to help you. You will be getting all of the presentations emailed to you afterwards, but if in case there's any questions that come up that we don't address today, please feel free to ask any questions at info@fintechcadence.com. My team will also quickly put that in the chat so that you have quick access to it as well. So far, so good? Perfect. And yes, do feel free to tell us where you're joining us from here today. Thielpan, nice to see you. I see you're joining us from Montreal, so welcome. What we're going to be going over today is exactly who we are as an organization. You may or may not have heard of us before, so we'll just do a quick intro there. We also want to let you know what's the focus of the Ascension program, what our objectives are with it. We're also going to go through the selection process, a quick program overview of what you guys will be going through if you get accepted into the program. We'll also be going through the curriculum in details, and then what happens once the program is done, and of course, Q&A portion. If there is anything that we are going through and you have a quick question, feel free to put it in the chat. And then following that, I'll be sure to add you guys, give you guys, a bit of Q&A time following the presentation. If that sounds good, I'll just take a quick thumbs up from you guys. Wonderful. All right, so have any of you guys heard of FinTech Cadence before? Yeah, Thielpan, you've heard of it. Benjamin, you've heard of it before. Okay, so I won't spend too much time going here. Just to quickly let you guys know, we are a nonprofit organization. We're based in Montreal, but we operate across Canada. We have offices in Toronto. We operate in Calgary, Atlantic, everywhere really is where we are. And our main purpose as an organization is to advance the financial system to serve all Canadians for the better. And that really is done through the FinTech landscape specifically. We focus on three main things. One is providing education. We have a FinTech certificate. We work with university to encourage FinTech curriculum, and we work with research to ensure that curriculum is also shared with industry. The second thing we do, and probably the most relevant to you guys here today, is we support very early stage startups and help them go through their journeys and achieve specific milestones. Now, when we say early stage, I just want to be clear so everyone's on the same page. Early stage for us is anyone who is in the pre-series A phase and before. So if you've raised around 1 million in dilutive funding, then you're probably a little bit more advanced for our programs. However, we do have a very strong connection with the rest of the ecosystem and happy to support and connect you with that. And the last thing that we do as an organization is collaborate directly with the financial sector. And so that's where we will work with banks, regulators, any ancillary organizations to ensure that the FinTech ecosystem is supported and driven forward and very cohesive. So very high level of what we do as an organization. Our programs that we have, I did mention the FinTech certificate. We're here today to talk about the Ascension. We do have a FinTech challenge, and that is a very case competition-based program. We also have the Financial Health Lab, and that is a very similar incubator program for financial health focused startups. And last but not least, the FinTech Hub, of which we'll go into in a little bit. And if you are interested in our events, we do have events throughout the country. We have primarily our first one coming up is FinTech Drinks, and that takes place March 23rd. It is in person. It's a really cool 5 cassette happy hour event that happens. We have about 60 to 75 people attend. It's a panel discussion and then followed by networking. This upcoming FinTech Drinks edition, the topic is FinTech still a thing in Canada? So it's going to be very exciting, very hot conversations happening on the panel. We will share a link with you on the chat as well if you are interested in attending. There is also a remote feature that takes place, so just keep that in mind if you want to attend there. Oh, my thing is happening ahead of me. We also have career fairs that happen throughout the years. So we're looking at the next one coming up in early 2024. And we also have university series engaging with different universities across Canada. I do apologize. I'm not sure what's happening here with the mouse. So what is the Ascension program? So you're here because we are doing a program specifically focused on helping early stage startups achieve their capital raising needs. And so that's where we were looking at providing a very robust program that directly puts you in front of people who can support you with your financial due diligence, your tech due diligence, the scaling components, how do you pitch to investors, culminating with an important funding showcase where we will put you in front of 30 to 45 different capital providers there as well. And so that's what the objective of the program is. I am sorry, I'm just going to mute. There is a little bit of background noise. I'm just going to mute you there. So it's a really, it's a program that we've been working on for 6 years, fine tuning and really seeing what we can do to help startups. And one of the things we're hearing about early stage startups is they're really having a hard time accessing capital, whether it's from VCs, whether it's angel investors, whether it's through government grants, et cetera. And so this program is specifically focused on helping startups achieve that milestone specifically. So I kind of already touched on this and what we were trying to do with the Ascension program. But like I said, a few years ago, we started realizing that startups were getting less and less visibility with what's happening in the VC world or the funding world. And so we decided to really bring together all of the capital providers in one location and also prepare startups to meet with these capital providers. And when I say capital providers, it's what I touched on earlier, VCs, from dilutive to non-dilutive funding. Sorry, I'll kind of put them in those brackets. And so that's where we really built this program. And we wanted to see if you were a startup with an MVP and some kind of traction, and that traction can really vary. It can be, we have sales, it can be, we have beta testers, it can be, we have signups, it can be, we have letters of intent. As long as you have some kind of traction, then we have developed as much as possible a tailored program for you, meeting with the aforementioned individuals. And I think last year we've pivoted the program to focus on this, and I think it was quite successful. So this year, we're really looking forward to leveling it up and ensuring more startups are getting access to capital. One quick thing that I'll mention here, and I'll touch on it a little bit later on, is this program is free for any startups, and we don't take any shares or equities at all. We don't take any share or equity FinTech Cadence as well. Right? We are a nonprofit, so we are financially supported by the government and by corporations. And so we ensure that all the startups who go through our programs don't have to pay anything. And like I said, we also don't take shares from companies. So this is a free program for you. And again, with the main objective of just helping you raise capital. So how can you, what's the kind of startups that we are looking at to go through it? Well, one, you do have to be incorporated in Canada because we mentioned earlier, we are a government funded organization. Our focus really is in Canada. You can have operations outside of Canada, that does not matter, but there has to be a legal incorporation here in the country. You do have to have a validated problem. So if you're still trying to explore a specific area or you're still trying to see, does this make sense? As a business, this program is a little bit too advanced for you. We do have earlier stage supporting programs. So if that's where stage you're at, stay after the call and I can tell you what other programs are relevant to you. But if you do have a validated problem, then this is the right location for you. I mentioned earlier, you do have to have a working prototype of your solution. So this can be either a prototype that's been tested in the market or a prototype that you do want to test or has been beta tested as well. But there has to be some form of a product available there. You should be looking to raise within the next 3 to 12 months. If you're looking to raise next year, then you can always apply to next year's cohort. We do try and make sure you meet with capital providers in the program. And so if you're not looking to raise, it's a bit of a waste of time for you and it's a bit of a waste of time for them. So we just want to make sure the timing is correct as well. You do have to have one of your founders who has, or a senior member of the team that has technical expertise. You are in fintech. And so if you don't have a tech expertise at your C-suite or your foundry level, it is a bit hard to raise capital at this stage. One of your founders should be working full-time or should be letting us, or excuse me, showcasing to us how you will be focusing a lot of the time that you're working on within the program to be full-time. So we know sometimes it's hard to leave a guaranteed job to be an entrepreneur, but if you don't have somebody working on it full-time, again, this program might be a little bit more advanced for you. And also, and hopefully anyone would have this, starting a business is to have large sale growth and ambition and potential as a product. So far, so good? Perfect. So what does the timeline look like to go through this program? Well, all applications are due on March 24th at 11:59 Eastern time. We'll be doing our first round of interviews from March 27th till March 30th. The second round will be from April 3rd to April 5th. And the cohort will start on April 13th specifically. Now, the interviews, for you to know, are done in a tech assessment and a business assessment. The first tech assessment is to ensure that your product is actually, as you're describing it, that it's robust, that it does make sense as a product and it is feasible as a product. And then a very similar interview will be done from the business perspective. Is there really a market in Canada? Is there really ability to scale this in the future, and so forth? So really looking at the business side of things there as well. We do take startups on a rolling basis. So if you are ready to apply, feel free to apply right away. It'll give us an opportunity to look through your application early on and set you up and schedule you for the interviews. But just so that you know, if you are kind of prepping your time, you do have until March 24th to submit your application. What does the program look like? So I mentioned earlier on that it is an 11-week program. The things that we'll be covering in the program, we'll be doing an assessment test, of so to speak, and that's where we'll be spending time with you and seeing, okay, well, where are you guys at in terms of the funding? How much have you raised? What kind of funding makes the most sense for you? We'll also be doing workshops around specific topics that I'll get into the details in a little bit. We'll be giving you opportunities to meet one-on-one with industry experts. I think by the time the program is done, you meet between 50 to 75 industry experts across Canada that are in the fintech space. So I think that alone is worth its weight in gold. We also do have fireside chats with founders that have raised or scale-ups or who have achieved unicorn status. So that's also really good visibility for you to see, how do I get to that stage? Everything that we do where permissible will be recorded, and we do already have an archive of recorded workshops to help you. And that can be anything from how do I prototype properly? How do I work on my UX UI? How do I do a financial due diligence, et cetera? So there's already a database of resources available for you there too. We'll also be supporting you. FinTech Cadence will have a champion that will support you throughout the process in case you have quick questions or if you'd like introductions to anyone. And then, of course, and one of the big things that we do focus on in this program is to ensure you are pitch ready for raising capital. I know a lot of founders say, oh, we know how to pitch. That's great. We're really showing you how do you pitch, or we're helping you fine tune how do you pitch to an investor specifically. And like I said earlier, and I'll probably say it one more time after this, is we also culminate the whole program with a funding showcase. And that's the opportunity where you will be meeting with people who are looking to allocate capital. So like we said earlier, venture capital firms, Luge, for example, Holt Exchange, a few others that escape me right now, Angel Network, so Ange Quebec, Maple Leaf Groups. We also look at MyTax, MEI, government funding as well. So we really try and give you as much visibility as possible with the capital providers. You will also, as an add-on, get access to our FinTech Hub resources that are available. So you will get software credits, the most relevant software companies from you. So either Amazon Cloud Services, Plaid, API Access, IBM, et cetera. So you will get access to that either for free or discounted, depending on the partner. You also have free office hours with legal experts from Osler. You will get discounts on events and conferences. For example, we have the Canadian FinTech Summit coming up in April in Toronto. So if you are interested in attending, let us know. We do have discounted tickets for you. And of course, you get invited to become a partner of our Slack community channel, where we have over 1,000 different FinTech startups that are participating in the community channel specifically. So what does the content look like? I'm going to go through it from a very high level, but like we said, we'll be sending you guys the information in detail later on the slides, and then you'll see it here. So I'm not going to spend too much of your time going through the minutia of each of these sessions, but I do want to give you a higher overall capacity of what you guys are going to be going through. So the first part of the program starts with an orientation where you'll get to meet the rest of the cohort. You get a good understanding of what's going to be happening day in, day out for you. The second session is a pitch prep, because you will be meeting over the following, in this case, 9 weeks at that stage of industry experts and funders. We want to make sure that your pitch for investment is rock solid. So we'll give you the opportunity to practice with our industry experts, as well as with our designers to help you with your slide deck. Following that pitch prep session, you'll be working on your funding strategy. So you'll be creating a roadmap on what makes the most sense. Do you start with evergreen funds? Do you have to focusing on VCs? Can you raise with grants first and then go into VCs within 4 months? So really helping you fine tune your funding strategy. And we do that with a concierge service that will spend one-on-one time seeing where you're at and then what are the best opportunities available to you. Following that, you have a week where you'll be going over a financial due diligence. Now, we don't do a financial due diligence for you. I don't think that's of value to you at that stage, but we walk you through what a financial due diligence would look like and make sure you are prepared in all scopes. So have you done an audit before? What does that look like? How is your cap table set up, et cetera? So we'll really spend time with you going through your financial back end. And then following that, we have a couple of weeks where you'll be working on your tech due diligence as well. What does your data room look like? How does your security look like? Is your team staffed and equipped to continue building the product at scale? And we find that this is really sometimes where startups have a hard time closing funding because this is not their most solid component. So we want to spend a bit of time with you guys going through that. Following that week, we spend a bit of time going through traction. So how do you prove traction to a funder? How do you showcase that? How do you build it? How do you guarantee it? And then how do you work on a roadmap for traction and scale in your product? We then look at your pitch session again, and then we close with the financials behind your team. So the financials behind the team really helps you focus on, do you need a fractional CFO, for example? Do you have the right team? How do you hire the right team? Is your team shares and your ESOP built properly? So really making sure that your team is the right team to support you. Do you have the right advisors, et cetera? And like we said, and I think this will be the last time that I mention it, everything closes and ends with a funding showcase. So that's where you'll be meeting with the capital providers. You can see we've built the program to help you set up for that particular day and making sure that when you come into that room virtually that day, that you are ready, that you are robust, and that the capital providers are really looking at your product and you versus spending time on like, well, your data room doesn't make sense, or have you ever been audited before, et cetera. And then following that, we'll just do exit interviews and making sure that you guys are ready for the program to be over and there's nothing pending there as well. Right. If you just joined us, just a reminder that I will be doing a Q&A portion in a little bit, but you feel free to start adding the questions on the chat and I can address them as they come forward. Now, as I mentioned, earlier on, this is a week-by-week program. So all the workshops that we have identified, or the fireside chats, or the office hours, depending on the topic of the week, are mandatory. Some of them are optional in case you need an extra session before you meet with the industry experts. So you might have a financial background, and so you don't need to come in and see, okay, what does it mean to build a budget, or what does it mean to build a financial forecast? But if you do want that, then we do have that workshop, and it is optional for you. They'll all take place during the weekdays and around 4:30 p.m. Eastern. There is every week there is going to be one optional and one mandatory workshop. And then you also have office hours with that specific industry expert, a tech expert or a financial expert or a marketing expert, et cetera. And then you will be meeting with the FinTech Cadence team. So times are flexible. But I think overall, I think that what we've averaged and what we've seen, including your meetings with industry experts, your mentorship sessions, just meeting with the different startup cohorts, you are looking at 3 to 4 hours a week of commitment time. I did go over the curriculum earlier on, so I won't spend too much time going over it here. But as you see, if you do want it for your reference, every week is broken down for you with the timing and with the content as well on the slide deck, which you'll be receiving later on. But I think I've kind of covered it all at large earlier on. And if you do have your question in the question and answer period, I'll make sure to come back here and reference these slides as well. So what happens after Ascension? Well, hopefully you would have raised funds, but what we will do is we will be including you as part of our FinTech Hub program, which is, of course, again, free, no shares taken either. And that's where you'll continue to get access from the FinTech Cadence staff and support. So if you need access to a specific financial institution, or if you want to meet specific regulators, you just call us up, let us know, and that's what we do as a service. You'll also be getting a FinTech Cadence champion support to help you continuously throughout your funding journey. And then we'll continue to invite you to all relevant events and FinTech topics there as well. So with that, the next steps for you, if you are interested in applying, which we highly recommend that you do, is to send us your application on the F6S platform. In case you haven't, in case you haven't seen it before, I have it open for you here. It's a very standard application form. It does take, I think, maybe what we estimated 15 minutes or so, maybe max 30 minutes. So just time it for that. But you can see here all of the questions are pretty straightforward and will help us in the interview process as well. Once you've submitted your applications, again, like we said, either anytime now or by March 24th, that's when we'll follow up with you, booking an interview process with you. If you do have any questions, I mentioned the info account earlier, but we also have the Ascension at fintechcadence.com. Any of those are feasible, so you can send them anywhere. And then I'll ask my team again to just send it on the chat, just so that you guys have quick access to it. And last but not least, everything that I mentioned here, as well as the slide deck, will be sent to you, and the recording will be sent to you as well.